All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys, girls, everybody else in between, welcome back to the Phenomenal Fan Podcast, episode 6. Talking sports, Jared. Talking more Super Bowl, talking baseball again as much as we can, even though every time we talk about it, I just get more and more depressed, but whatever, I guess. Nothing we can control. Talking obviously Super Bowl because that's what everybody cares about and wants to is looking forward to this Sunday. We'll talk a little bit of some insane props. Last episode we talked more player specific, actual real props that you could bet on. More so today, more obscure props that Jared does not know, and I want to get his sort of blind picks and reactions on to see which side he'll take. We'll take a good chunk of this and make our official picks for Super Bowl 56. And then at the end of the episode, we'll try to break down just an absolutely absurd video that's been cycling through the internet the last day or so. But initially, Jared, how are we feeling about how the lines are looking so far? Super Bowl, everything else going on? Are we feeling okay right now?
No, I feel horrible about that line because it doesn't seem like there's enough value like on the Rams, right?
Minus
like
4.5.
Yeah, well, they're -4 right now.
I see 4.5. Yeah, it's.
But like, if you want to bet money line, you're basically getting 1 to 2 odds, right? So you got to put 100 down just to profit 50.
And then if they lose, it's like that sucks.
Could potentially win,
yeah.
But I don't necessarily know if I don't know if they have the juice to beat the Rams right now with the way that I don't know. I've kind of doubted. Well, I haven't really necessarily doubted the Bengals. I've always took them to like cover.
Right.
And end up winning the game, right? But like, I don't know if I could take the money line, and I hate that line. I think 4 is a bullshit line. I think like sports books should probably get into a habit of just, or like in football, like it shouldn't be, like a 4 points. Like what the fuck is that? Yeah. I mean, like that's not a scoring increment. I think you should do 3 points. You could offer like a 6-point line and a 7-point line,
right?
Or like even 7.5 if you don't want stuff to push. But I hate when. I don't even mind 6 as much because there's always seems to be a missed extra point these days.
Yeah.
Or like something like that where like 6 happens or two field goals even.
Right.
That makes sense. But 4 points is a fucking weird line, and I hate it to death.
Well, it's funny.
I'll alt myself if I believe in the Bengals. I'll take better odds than the Rams money line, and I'll bump those odds down to at least get a touchdown for the Bengals.
Yeah, what's funny is that you said about the Bengals, you're like, yeah, I don't know, like they're good, right? They're here for a reason and this and that, but like what you just broke down on them is exactly how everybody's looked at them so far. Been like, they're good, but I don't know if they're good enough to win. Like, I don't know, like, well, they had 9. They're not going to beat the Titans. They're good, but like the Titans are going to beat them. They beat the Titans. Okay, well, they beat the Titans. Then they beat whoever, like they get to play the Chiefs. Okay, they're good, but they're not good enough to beat the Chiefs. And then they beat the Chiefs. It's like, well, they're not good enough to beat the fucking Rams. Like the Rams pass rush is so good. And there's like, what if they fucking win? Like, you just don't know. Like, realistically, probably not going to happen. No, but it's like, dude, literally, I'm not going to sit here definitively and be like, they're not going to win because it's just, you don't know.
They could win the game. They could win the game.
They could win the fucking Super Bowl.
It really comes down to if Joe has enough time to get the ball off. Because I know he was sacked 9 times and they won that game against the Titans. But like, fuck, man, you're really playing with fire there.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like letting up that many sacks and that many pressures and think that you're gonna be able to succeed on the back end. And like, although we went through the stats the other day and the Titans, the Titans stats looked like, and the Bengals defense even like, like we did some comparisons with the stats in one of the other episodes, and we're like, well, shit, the Rams aren't even that good. As much as like the numbers will show you, like that team is really good defensively, even though sometimes they look like shit and they just get like, I think like when they played the Seahawks this year at one point, like
they lost twice to the Seahawks.
He's been in the league for like ever, right? Like somebody, what is his name? Seahawks. He started like 4 games, but anyway, he comes in. He was a stud in college. Geno Smith. Yeah, I was so surprised when Geno Smith was in the league. Still, I was like my roommate said it, and I was like, Geno Smith.
Wait,
like,
Geno?
Because he's like, yeah, you're like. He's like a 2009.
Yeah.
Like 2009 college guy. So just like you haven't seen him around, whatever. But anyway, he came in the end zone and like orchestrated like a 98-yard drive. And like when you see the Rams do shit like that, you're like, like, how am I supposed to feel about him? So
Yeah.
I don't know. That's kind of an ambiguous line. I don't like it. I'm probably gonna, just because we talked about it, we love Joey so much. I'm probably gonna probably go with do something with the Bengals, but
Yeah.
I haven't figured out that exact number yet. But I will by the end of the episode because I want to look at the alt line odds.
Exactly. Well, yeah, we're not feeling good about the Super Bowl. It sounds like, which is fine. We don't need to because it's fine. We don't need to make our picks yet officially until later in the episode. So you have about 30 minutes to lock in your absolute guarantees for the game. So just keep that in the back of your head. But but in the meantime, quickly touching on MLB negotiations. Nothing new, Jared. Nothing new, because why would there be anything new? The players and the owners continue to not be able to get on even close to the same page, which is obviously very frustrating for fans. Major League Baseball came out and said that they request an official mediator, federal mediator. Requested it, I guess. I thought when they requested it or they mentioned it that was like what was going to happen, and then the players were like, yeah, we just reject that, so that's not going to happen. And it's just like, dude, fucking, it's not even with them. Like they say, like, oh, they're meeting, like 1 step forward, 2 steps back. It's like a half step forward and then 10 steps back. Like it seems like they're getting further apart, and there's more. I don't know, man. We're not going to spend too much time on it, but the update with Major League Baseball is that they are just in shambles right now, and they're just, man, they're in a bad spot. They're in a really, really bad spot. Definitely going to miss some spring training games. Probably going to have the season delayed, which only really makes sense because, that's what baseball does. That's what Rob Manfred does, is he just fucks the game over consistently, and he has no clue about the actual game, and he wants to speed up the pace of play and do all these things and address issues that aren't actual issues. But then when it comes down to crunch time, guy's got no fucking clue. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with the Major League Baseball. But moving on, we already touched on the Super Bowl, obviously. We've had some talks, like we mentioned, about some actual props that are real. Player props, combined player props. In years past, Jared, as you know, being in the industry, I don't know like what's happened, or if like legislators or regulators, I guess you could say, in the States, like don't want to like have to manually approve the bets where it's like heads or tails on the coin toss, or like the fucking Gatorade color of the winning coach, all that shit that people actually like, and it's like fun for people who aren't huge like sports people to bet on, right? Time of the anthem, like all this stuff. Length of the anthem in seconds versus Matthew Stafford passing yards. Like, that's fun to bet on. Like, that's cool. That's funny. But they're like not regulating that anymore, which is disappointing. But that doesn't mean that offshore books aren't regulating or aren't offering these things. They don't have any regulations, so they can offer whatever the hell they want. And I came across a handful of props that were offered on Bovada, who we are not endorsing or recommending you use them, but it's fun to talk about this type of stuff because these are the props that we talk about that are more entertaining. And these actually came from my brother, who has just started to get into the sports gambling stuff. And a lot of the action he has is similar to what we talked about before, right? Super Bowl MVP. He said, he's got money on Von Miller to win Super Bowl MVP. Like, okay, that's a fun one. Another one he had was Eric Weddle to win Super Bowl MVP. Like, that's, plus 30,000. It's not going to happen, but hey, I mean, you never know. Eric Weddle could have 2 pick sixes, and it's like, oh, I guess Eric Weddle's MVP, but not going to happen, right?
Or a low scoring game and just 2 picks.
Yeah, 2 picks.
Like, dumb like that, critical picks. Picking the end zone, and then you start playing that little scenario in your mind a little bit. Like you can start hearing the announcer saying it. This guy wasn't even in the league.
Yeah, yeah.
This guy wasn't even in the league 6 weeks ago.
Exactly.
He comes off and he wins the Super Bowl MVP. It's like you just play that little stupid scenario.
Yeah.
And you're like, why not throw $5 on
Yeah. Yeah. So, these props are the most obscure in my opinion, but also the most fun to talk about. And these are ones that we'll obviously be probably putting out on our other channels. But the first one here that my brother passed along to me, and this is a very interesting one, Jared. The payout is minus 125, yes, and plus 150 for no. Okay, so minus 125, yes, plus 150 for no. And the prop is from the moment the ball is kicked off to start the game to when the clock hits 0 at the end of the game, the price of Bitcoin will go up. That is the general prop. Yes is minus 125. No is plus 150. And you start to think about that and you're like, well, why the hell would Bitcoin go up? Like, why would anything change? But it's like, well, you have, crypto.com commercial with Tom Brady or some new crypto ad, because there's going to be some crypto tossed in somewhere in the game, right? It's going to be mentioned, maybe not by the announcers.
It'll be all over it.
Exactly.
It'll be all over the commercials, though.
Exactly. So you hear about that, or you see a commercial with Tom Brady, and he's like, "Yeah, I just bought another 3 Bitcoin," and then you check the Bitcoin price, and it just skyrockets or whatever. I think that one is
much.
Exactly.
It's kind of a weird, but yes, minus 125 would make sense because, like you said, like obviously there's going to be advertising for it, and it's hugely widely viewed. Obviously,
exactly.
Maybe some people, but I don't know. At the same time, I don't know. That's tough because it's like where are they regulating the movement? Obviously, it's like a little bit different on every platform, but but if it goes up, it's going to go up.
Right. I think that one's just.
I don't know. I kind of want to say yes, but it's like at the same time, I never know what the fuck's going to happen with crypto.
Right. Well,
it might jump up 5% when sometimes you just I'll get the notification from crypto.com and say Bitcoin is up 10% today. And I don't necessarily know why.
Right. But, well, I don't think anybody actually knows why. You know what I mean? It's what does this Matthew McConaughey say in Wolf of Wall Street? It's a fucking fugazi. Nobody knows if it's going up, down, side.
It's a fugazi. It's a woozy. It's a wazi.
Yeah. Nobody actually fucking knows. But if it's mentioned, if it's included in commercials, if it's something that they talk about, or they they kick it down to the sideline guy. Yeah. Odell Beckham has had a great time in LA, and not sure if you guys were, on top of this or not, but he actually decided to accept his paychecks from the Rams in Bitcoin, and something like that, where it's like they mention it and then everyone's like, oh shit, people who didn't know that, or people who don't, fuck, I guess I'll just go get Bitcoin because BJ's got Bitcoin. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you want to know something that's kind of fucked up? Is last year I kind of had a similar thing. I wasn't an offshore book, but I actually I traded out of something I had, and I bought $2,500 worth of I already had a bunch of Dogecoin, but I bought $2,500 extra worth of Dogecoin because I heard there was going to be a Dogecoin Super Bowl commercial, and it didn't. It dropped like a motherfucker because nobody saw the commercial and everyone panicked because they bought it. I think a bunch of people heard about that same rumor, panicked because they bought it, and it actually dropped. So it's kind of funny that we're talking about a crypto one now, and get this, I sell it, and then 3 months later, it should shoot 75 cents.
Of course.
Obviously, you weren't going to hold it if that's the reason.
Right.
Day, but it's just kind of funny. This is year 2 of crypto being tied into the Super Bowl just on an actual book.
Exactly.
But on that same premise, the fact that it didn't go up last year gives me some weird sneaking hunch that it's going to drop 4%.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know. I don't know the answer. I don't know which side I'd bet on that, but I feel like yes, again, is a fun one to just why not? Because if it goes up, it goes up. I mean, it's minus 125, you put $3 on whatever you want to do. Again, we're not gambling experts. I'm just saying it's at that point though, if you think the price of Bitcoin's going up, don't bet on it. Just fucking go put it in Bitcoin and then your money will go up. You know what I mean? It's just I don't know. It's a stupid one, but
I like it. It's fun that it's offered.
Yeah, that one's super fun. Another one that he put out, and I guess we'll touch on that one afterwards because it's not necessarily Super Bowl related, but another one that he put out that I thought was super interesting. Well, there's 2. The first one is the one that I think it may be offered in some places, but I don't know, again, because of how it's regulated or how they do the official scoring and shit like that. But the one that you hear about, or you'll end up hearing about at some point, with the number of passers in the game. So the number's always set at, are you going to take over or under 2.5 players to complete a pass in the game? And obviously you start to think about it. Of course, Burrow, of course, Stafford. You've seen OBJ take an end around and throw it downfield.
Well, do they have to complete it?
No, just attempt.
Attempt. So they just have to have an attempt.
I'm sure there's probably both.
If they had to complete it,
I'm sure there's probably both. There's probably over 2.5 to complete a pass, and over 2.5 to attempt a pass.
And complete's obviously going to be higher odds, like because they can do the end around and they play could get just fucking busted, you know.
Exactly. So, and you could throw it out of bounds, but to complete a pass, like
dude, every Super Bowl, I feel like there's a completed pass.
That's what I'm saying.
There's always Tom Brady has a fucking like a target in a Super Bowl. Not that long ago.
That Super Bowl that he had the target and he dropped it. That was the same one that Nick Foles caught a pass in the end zone, but that was also a 2-point conversion. So I don't know if that counts on the official scoring. Like, there's all kinds. Or maybe it was 4th and goal. Maybe I'm wrong on that. I think it was 4th and goal actually. But it's like, that's, you know, is it going to even get to a point where teams are going to feel like they need to do that? Because Stafford's obviously so good, Burrow's so good. Like, if it's 4th and goal or short yardage situation, why wouldn't you just put your best odds in Joe Burrow to throw a jump ball to Jamar Chase? Why would you have to run some tricky bullshit to try to get that 1 yard, or just run like? So there's defenses, there's perspectives on both sides. If I'm the betting man in this specific Super Bowl, I would take the under on that, because I don't think there's ever going to be a point. And then I'm sure as I fucking say that, the first play is going to be a double end around and OBJ is going to lob a ball to Cooper Kupp for 40 yards. Like, it's going to be some bullshit.
I'm taking the opposite. I'm taking a yes. I think they hand the ball to, like, the Bengals hand the ball to Jamar Chase on those end arounds all the time now. He could toss one. You know, I feel like I've seen Van Jefferson throw a fucking pass at some point. You know, I feel like I've seen Cooper Kupp throw a pass. Like, I don't know if I actually have, but in my brain, I just keep on picturing this stupid like end around. You know, I know we saw that one of OBJ not that long ago.
Exactly. It was like it was either last game or 2 games ago.
Threw him.
Yeah. But like
underthrew him, but he still caught it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that one's.
I'm taking over. It's a Super Bowl. That's a Super Bowl. There's going to be some bullshit.
Yeah.
And it's going to be early in the game.
Yeah, I mean, and I think there's value on both sides.
Yeah, but I'm taking yes on it.
Okay, all right.
We're getting an end around toss.
Okay, there's your pick for that one, and then the last prop that's like not offered, not regulated, but the number is set at over under 1.5, and it's over under 1.5 times the chains are brought out for a measurement in the game. Over under 1.5 times the chains are brought out. I feel like once has to happen. Like, at least once. There's going to be a close 3rd and fucking 1 QB sneak, you know, and it's going to be like this close spot. They bring it out. Because Burrow's done some sneaks. Stafford's done some sneaks. Could be the goal line. Well, I guess it wouldn't be the goal line, but it'd be for a first down. That one's also tough because it's like you actually start to think about it. I mean, how many times have the chains been? I've watched every playoff game. How many times have the chains been brought out in the playoffs? Probably twice total, right? Once or twice. But it's the Super Bowl, so like anything could fucking happen. I don't know.
Sean McVay is gonna have some people that he knows that he's gonna be calling for measurements from 2 yards out. I want to remeasure on that.
Yeah.
He's gonna tip him off. I don't know, man. I actually don't really pay too much attention. Every time it comes out, I'm always like, this is kind of like an archaic way to do this, right? Like,
dude, well, that's a whole other. We could spend 30 minutes talking about the fact that they spot the ball with their eyes, and they're like, I think he got here. It's like,
yeah,
what the fuck?
It's a total showsmanship type of thing to bring the chains out.
Right.
And they fucking always have them, and they're always scrunched up, so like you can't see how far they're gonna extend.
And then they
extend them, and it's
and they come up and they're like, it's 3 inches, and you're like, how?
Did that guy take a note card that one time?
Yeah, one time he
take a note card and
he slid it through, and it like didn't. Dude, and that's
an official score. That's fucking ridiculous.
And it's also ridiculous too because I always see them bring the chains out, and when they come out and they pull the chain tight, right? Like you said, they pull it. My question every time I see it is like, how do they know where to start it? Like, I know that they gained on first down, they got to the 40-yard line, but it's not the 40-yard line. Like, the difference between the front edge of the white line on a 40-yard line and the back edge of the white line could be the difference between a first down. So, like, if they say they got to the 40, do they just automatically put the chain in the middle of the white line, or do they start at the back of the white line or the front of the white line, or is it just where the ball was? And then the referee's like, yeah, make sure you put the front chain down right here. Like, I feel like it's, like you said, it's just so archaic and like not regulated, or as it, it's different with like the goal line, right, where you can see the nose of the ball break the plane, but with like, dude,
it would have to start from like where the nose of the football was. So here's the only way I could see it working is like if there was somebody upstairs that rewound the play like right before it started. Saw where the nose of the football was sitting before it got snapped, and then relayed that message down to the chain crew or the head official.
But even then, they relay it down. They're like, yeah, it looks like it's like 3 inches short of the 40-yard line. So like probably start it like right there.
It's a little bit arbitrary, and I don't love it.
God, man,
I don't love the inconsistency, and it's always this much too.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's less than a foot every time. It's always less than a foot, of course, right? I mean,
can we get a chip? Can we get a chip in the ball right now,
dude? Like, that's what I'm saying, and we could spend 40 minutes talking about this. It's 2022. Like, there's no fucking point. And also, how many times do you see in a game on a close play or a first down, like, or when the guy, like, I always wonder, like, the guy runs out of bounds, like the quarterback scrambles, right? Runs and then like extends the ball, and they say, oh, well, it's where the ball crossed the out of bound, like the boundary. But like, how do you, it's the same thing when like a guy punts a ball and it goes out of bounds, and the referee,
the punting's the worst because the punt's fucking 40 yards in the air.
And the ref's like at the goal line, and then he just starts running up the sideline and then just stops at the 23. And I'm like, what?
Just robs the guy of,
and I'm like, are you sure?
Out of the stadium.
Yeah, like, where did you regulate? Like, how did you see that? You know what I mean? Like, your depth perception, there's just no way you can be looking at the ball, watching it in the air, and then go, yeah, right at the 23 is where it went out of bounds.
They can tell fucking spin rate of a Major League Baseball and the exact miles per hour that it comes off and its launch angle and everything by triangulating it.
Yep.
Yet we have none of that technology in the fucking NFL for when a ball goes outside.
Yeah, exactly.
When a spot happens here, even if there's a pile, if you could have some sort of sensors in the field that show like where that ball is when that fucking whistle is blown, well, that would cause a lot of
100%.
You know what I mean?
But it's hard to regulate because you'd have to put sensors in pretty much every player's, all over their body, knee pads, elbows, shoulders, because as soon as it makes contact with the ground, that's when the ball would like send a signal to wherever and be like, this is where it was. But it's just so hard to regulate. So I understand why, like, the system they have, but it just seems, like you said, so archaic to like, that's what they rely on. Like, that can decide a fucking game on a 4th and 1 with 2 minutes left.
Human element, which is nice though, you know.
For sure, I appreciate that.
When the human element is like clearly fucking another team, that's like when you're like, okay, like,
right? Because then
this can't work.
I've seen it so many times. Like, the example that just pops into my head randomly, it was like 6 or 7 years ago. It was like Michigan and Ohio State football, and it was like game went to overtime. And Ohio State had the ball on 4th down, and they went for it, and they did like a quarterback draw, and it was Cardale Jones who was the quarterback for Ohio State, and he like hit a linebacker, got spun, hit again, and it was like a 1 yard, 4th and 1 that he needed to get, and like in fast motion when the play happens, almost everybody was like, oh fuck, he's short, just from the yellow line, right, that you see, which again, obviously they don't go by that, but the yellow line is also just completely fucked half the time. It's off by fucking half a yard, like almost every other play. And then he like didn't get there, but the side judge that was on the other side of the pile that didn't even see the play develop comes running out on the field with the spot, and he's like a yard past the yellow line. And everyone was like, where did you? And then they get that spot, and everyone's like, no way, like no chance. And Harbaugh in Michigan was like, take a look at it. And then they go to review, and it's the classic, well, there wasn't enough evidence to overturn the spot on the field. It's like, fuck that. Like, there needs to be something better, especially on those plays where you're like, you need to know exactly where the football got to. Like, especially if it's like forward progress, that's as far as the ball got. There's got to be like a sensor, ropes, or fucking, like you did, it's 2022. There's got to be something, because it would just suck so bad for a game games have been decided on bad spots or good spots or whatever, whatever's
pass interference calls.
Yeah, no, like, I'm just saying, like, a lot of shit, man. But that's the human element, right?
Remember Rams Saints?
Oh my God, Saints? Yeah,
that motherfucker, that guy's a swindling bastard. Though the referee that missed that call was staring right at the play. we could go over that another time. But like, man, that still needs to be brought up. They're not talking about it enough. That guy got rocked, just straight up dropped, and then
when the ball's 8 yards away, and they're like, yeah, incomplete.
Yeah, it's like, fuck off.
Yeah, no,
Tim Donahue bloodline over there.
Seriously. Yeah, so that part, no. I mean, that one's interesting.
I think less than 2.
I agree. I think it's under 1.5 for sure on chain measurements, but then again, there could probably be 2 on the first fucking drive. Like, you just really don't know. You really have no idea. Yeah. Because there's going to be one thing for sure in this game is there's going to be a lot of 4th down attempts, I believe. I think, especially if a team gets down, the Bengals go down by 14, like early on, and it's 4th and 2, like even from their own 30, like they're going to go for it. You know what I mean? Because that's just kind of the direction the league's moving. And then it may end up being on a spot or some shit, bring out the chains, and then the same thing happens in the 4th quarter. Like, you never know. But I'm going to go under too. I think under's the best bet in that one.
Seems the better.
Yeah. So those are all the props that I had, and those are Jared's raw reactions to the to the props that a little bit more obscure, probably not offered at your local sports book legally, but I mean, if you want to get in the action, I guess take your risk somewhere that's not regulated. But you know, I don't know what it would be. I mean, it's fun either way. It's fun to talk about. So we covered the obscure props. Before we get into our official picks, I wanted to emphasize the point that we had even more about in the last episode, right? We spent a lot of time talking about Joe Burrow and how gangster he is, and talking about how the Rams are so talented and this and that. And the NFL did a great job clipping together like this 20-minute video, 10 minutes pretty much for each game, from the AFC Championship and the NFC Championship, and most of the players were either had a mic on or were just like the microphones they have were picking up them talking about stuff. And, you know, we talked a lot about like the potential, you know, maybe not the rigging of the outcome of the game, but like some of the other stuff. And spreads, yeah, first touchdowns, like shit like that. And maybe, you know, maybe there is. But one thing I can tell you for sure is that after watching that video of the mic'd up championship games, the players definitely, if there's a rigging going on, the players are not in on it. They're just not, because watching how these guys are, their raw reactions to certain things, and even some of the coaches, like the coaches on the Chiefs sideline, you know, the Chiefs were struggling.
Yeah, they get fired up.
Right.
They get so fired up.
And they were on the sideline. And the Chiefs were. I
agree.
The Chiefs were sputtering.
You couldn't tell.
Right. Even if there was, the Chiefs were sputtering offensively in the second half, and they keep punting and punting and punting, and the Bengals take the lead, 24-21. And the Chiefs are going back out to get the ball. And the offensive coordinator is over there, and he's like, listen, we have literally fucked this up to this point. Like, everybody out here has been fucking horrible in this second half, and it's time for you guys to go out there and unfuck this situation. Like, he's yelling at these guys. And I'm like, dude. And Mahomes, every time he comes off the field, and he's like, man, they had this and they did that. And like, I didn't see the safety, or I didn't do, you know, or like I should have gotten this guy. And then the tablet comes out and he's like, oh, he was up. Like, they're just human. I really think there is a lot of human, but there's so much shit that is very fluky or like seems calculated, where you're like, that's fucking suspicious. But at the end of the day, it's just like one game, one play. And honestly, if you play the Chiefs Bengals game over again 10 times in Kansas City, the Chiefs win that game 8 or 9 times out of 10. It was just that 1 or 2 sessions or 1 or 2 games. The Bengals do everything right. The Chiefs completely sputter in the second half, and fucking P. Ryan breaks off a 34-yard screen pass. You know, like, that play never happens, but it did in that game. You know what I mean? And like Evan McPherson not missing kick. You know,
he was just scrambling too.
Dude,
like
breaking
downs, like,
and Tyrann Mathieu
swimming,
dude, breaking multiple. And Tyrann Mathieu, dude, is in that video too. And he comes off the field after they scored the game tying touchdown and got the 2-point conversion to tie it. And Matthew comes off the field and they're pissed. I mean, the Chiefs defense is like, what the fuck, man? Like, let's go. And Matthew's probably, I would say, the captain of the defense, right? He's probably the most, you know, notable guy. He's obviously really smart with football. And he comes off, and the defensive either coordinator, you know, one of the defensive coaches comes over. He's like, you guys got to be sticking in your zones, containing on the outside. And he goes, no, listen to me. And he's like, this motherfucker back there is different. And he's like talking to his teammates. He's like, I see that motherfucker going through 1, 2 reads, and then he's gone, man. We got to get his ass, get him on the ground in the backfield. And it's like, that's pure raw human emotion where he's just like, fucking throw everything out of the playbook and like, get his first 2 reads out and then fucking get him. And like, that wasn't their game plan going into it because they know he could run, but they didn't know he could fucking, like you said, he was made of fucking KY jelly, just slippery back there. Yeah. Like, dude, breaking tackles and shit.
Like he was like that drunken Buddha, like the, like the drunken Buddha or whatever. Like that's like fighting technique.
Yeah,
that's what he looked like. He would just like bend out of. He just gumbeat his way out. Like you thought he was down. There was like fucking 2 or 3 guys like got chances at him, and he was just.
And that's and that's shit where I think that's just the human element. And then my favorite part, and this is the part that I wanted to touch on, was the Chiefs the Bengals are going down the field. They get in the red zone, and I think they might have been in a goal to go situation when they were down by 8. And I think there was a stoppage in play or something where Burrow came to the huddle, and I think he had already called the play, right? He came to the huddle. There was guys out there with the water bottles. So they were like in a stoppage, right? Like some sort of TV timeout or injury or something. Burrow comes out, calls the play, and the water bottle guys like run back to the sideline. And it's not a situation where he's like, this is the play, on 2, ready, break. And they run up to the huddle. He called the play. They're still kind of standing around. And Jamar Chase like circles around the edge, and Burrow's kind of standing there looking around. And he kind of looked at everybody and he goes, all right, fellas, when we score, we're going for 2. Like he said it before the play even happened. And that's not a rigging thing. I'm saying like Burrow doesn't say like, if we score, or like he didn't have another alternative. It's like when we score, we're going for 2. And when he said that, he goes, when we score, we're going for 2. And Jamar Chase goes, woo, I like that. And and they're like, all right, let's go. And then he runs out, first fucking next play, throws a fucking jump ball to Jamar Chase or whatever, and they score the touchdown. And it's like, dude, Joe Burrow is so fucking nice. And like, I know we talked about it before, but like, I don't know if Mahomes says shit like that. I don't know if these other quarterbacks say shit like that. I'm not saying they don't, but like, that's something that you just like, you don't prepare for that. Like when you're drafting a guy, you're like, oh, well, this guy's going to be in a huddle in the AFC Championship with the moxie to come into the huddle and say, when we score, we're going for 2. Like already planning for it because he just has so much confidence, not only in himself, but his guys. I thought that was like, it might just be nothing and I might be making too much out of that, but I thought that was just fucking gangster.
Dude, he's fucking, dude. We talked about that. He's confident as shit. He dresses confident. He acts confident, but like still in some weirdly humble type of way because he doesn't like act confident necessarily like in other people's faces. He just acts confident as exactly who Joe Burrow is, you know?
Exactly.
So, yeah, he's fucking sweet. And then like it's really hard to even remember that the LSU season was 3 years ago. Like it's his second year in the league, and the fucking Cincinnati Bengals were a dumpster fire.
Yeah,
they were like what the fuck did the Bengals do in the last
nothing,
however many years? Like fucking since that's 89, really. Like obviously they probably had some decent seasons with like Dalton where they made the playoffs, but like just decent. Like this motherfucker comes in and beats the Chiefs in the AFC Championship in his second year. It's like after Patty Mahomes just became a $500 million man. It's like nobody saw that one fucking coming.
Yeah.
So yeah,
but then again, it's like
he's a beast, man.
Dude,
he really is.
He saw it coming though. That's what I'm trying to say. It's like he's planned for this. It doesn't seem like a lot of guys like have a lot of early success and then the moment ends up being too big for them, or they just get outsmarted, right? AFC Championship a few years ago, Patriots and Chiefs in Kansas City. Like there's so many situations in that game where the Chiefs could have probably put it away and won, but they get out-disciplined, outsmarted. And as much as we want to talk about maybe the Bengals talent-wise aren't lining up with these teams, from what I've seen so far, besides maybe like 1 or 2 pass interference calls by like Eli Apple, they've been very disciplined. Like there's not like big play, fucking holding, bring it back, or a intentional grounding, or defensive holding, or illegal hands to the face, like sloppy, non-technical. Like the Bengals have been very sound in how they've gone about it.
The only thing that they've sucked at, which is weird, that they like in especially in that Titans game, when that fucking the first first couple plays were just like Joe Burrow was just on the ground right away.
Yeah.
It's just it just doesn't look like they panic, and they don't have like a quit in them really.
Exactly.
Like, it looks like even though that they know shit's going like south, right? Like, our quarterback's been sacked 9 times. It doesn't ever look like when they don't get something rolling for 2 straight drives that they're ever going to panic about not getting anything rolling. Because it's only a matter of time for them to get something going. So like that's what I've seen with them. You know?
Do you think that comes from Burrow though? Cool. That has to come from the top. It comes from Burrow because they have it
has to.
They got a young coach, right? I mean, they have a lot of inexperience, but dude, it's so hard to quantify what he brings besides obviously like high level of play. Exactly. He doesn't
sack. Even after a sack, he doesn't get up and he's not fucking screaming at anyone.
Dude, and he doesn't like Mahomes.
He doesn't get rattled.
Right. Even Mahomes, though, even though he does scramble and end up extending plays and making plays, like towards the end of that game there, like he fucking scrambled and panicked and looked around, panicked again. And then fucking, what did he do on that last play before regulation, before the field goal? He fucking scrambles around, gets smacked, fumbles the ball. Like, dude, that's fucking like, holy shit, dude. Like, just fucking, that should never in a billion years. The only thing you tell Mahomes is don't throw a pick, don't fumble it. And he fucking fumbled. And obviously they fell on it and kicked the field goal. But it's like Burrow, at least to me, and maybe he ends up, of course, coughing it up in the Super Bowl. But it's like, I don't think Burrow will be the guy like a Tannehill or like other guys where it's like, that they can be solid, but they're going to fall apart, or when things are going south, they're going to continue to go south. Like with Mahomes, I feel like that's been a little bit of a pattern for him. Early on in this year, they started 4-4, and he was like not good. Like he just was not very good for the first 8 games. And that it like snowballed. Like he started off not great. It kind of stuck around for a while. With Burrow, it's like, okay, one bad play, on to the next one. Like he's going to show up on this next play and make some shit happen. And I think that is like such an intangible factor that you can't quantify with numbers or stats, but he is just like, man, it's so impressive.
Yeah. It's going to be super exciting just to watch, just to watch what he does over the next couple of years. I mean, obviously his whole career is now going to be highly anticipated if you're a football fan, because you're like, holy shit, you threw for 4,000 plus yards and 35 touchdowns, and like really your first year in the NFL. Like, obviously we talked about what Mahomes did in his first year, which was crazy. And it's like, it's be exciting just to see what type of growth. Like in the same way we talked about Mahomes, it was going to be almost impossible to go up for Joey B. Like he obviously has room to go up even, cause like he hasn't had that 50 touchdown season yet, but like, I wouldn't be fucking surprised.
Yeah.
Then,
no, I wouldn't either.
He has now, that as he continues to mature and understand the NFL, and as they start to put some better linemen around him, if he's not the next fucking, Tom Brady type generational talent, where he's going to be, when we have kids, he'll already have been in the league for, X amount of years, and then they'll watch him until they're 12 or 13 or whatever.
Yeah.
That's what type of guy he feels like he's going to be for sure.
Dude, and he also
you can't say that about everyone. You can't say that about other guys that are stars right now.
No.
Like there's I love Lamar Jackson, but like there's some of his games when he goes for fucking 179 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick,
a lot of missed throws.
I just don't know how long his career lasts. Obviously, the guy's amazing. He's won an MVP before. He's had games where you he's fucking a video game. He's but it's like how long does that career last? Compared, I don't feel necessarily the same way about him, or even obviously Baker a couple of years ago looked like a real star. He feels like he's going to be a backup within a couple of years.
Seriously,
Joe doesn't feel like that. So,
yeah,
I don't know. That's where I'm at with him.
And that's with Burrow too. Like the last thing I'll say about him is like throughout his career, there has been so many times where it could have just gone so south. Like, and he could have taken the situation that he was put into or had found himself in and not made the most of it. But it seems like he's not only like made the most of every opportunity he's gotten, or in a situation where it's not great, but he's like improved it and made it. Like he started his career not very highly recruited out of college, goes to Ohio State. He's a backup, looks around. There's stuff coming out about Burrow in the last, as of course he's gained this popularity, where I think it was like an old coach, like an old, like some quarterbacks coach at some other random like medium-sized school, and Joe Burrow, or it was like a recruiter, like a guy that was, his job was to like send players information to coaches and stuff. And it's a DM from Joe Burrow, like 7 years ago. And he was like, hey, so-and-so, Mr. So-and-so, always like just so respectful too, like so fucking normal and straight up. And he's like, hey, I don't feel as though I've been getting as many looks as I think I deserve. But it didn't. And he's like, what can I do to improve that situation or help market myself better as a quarterback? And that, when you read that, you're like, there's not a lot of guys doing that. And in a lot of ways, like you watch these shows like Last Chance U or these other plays where like a lot of these guys act like they're entitled to being the superstars, or they're entitled to being, and looking at Joe Burrow's trajectory, it seems like if anybody's entitled to being a first round pick and a highly recruited 5-star quarterback, it's this fucking guy, but he wasn't. So he makes the most of it. He ends up getting on at Ohio State after probably working to get there, not playing, improves the situation, transfers to LSU. And not only, of course, the trajectory of the LSU team that year just went up and up and up and up. But like his first test that season was against Texas, a ranked Texas team. They're both top 15. Goes down to Texas, beats them like pretty soundly. At that point, people are like, this guy's pretty good. He seems pretty legitimate. And then it continues to go up, and he ends up in Tuscaloosa with a number 1 LSU team on the road against Alabama, like the University of Alabama football. And it, like, at no point in that game, as an Alabama fan, I watched it, I was never like, oh, this is the play where he's going to throw a pick, or this is the play where he's going to cough it up or do something stupid or roll out and make a bad throw. Like, he's always been not only under like just such a calm presence, but he makes the most of it. And then he fucking beats Alabama and like scrambles up the field for 12 yards on a 3rd and 8 and like does crazy shit, beats them. And then he goes to the college football playoff. Well, this guy's never been in college football playoff. LSU's never been in the college football playoff. Ed Orgeron's never been there. All these guys are really talented, but shows up, beats the fuck out of Oklahoma, plays Clemson, who has been a perennial dominating force besides Alabama with Trevor Lawrence and Dabo Swinney, beats the shit out of them. And then like throws a touchdown pass to give him a 2.5 or 3 score lead, walks off the field, and he starts pointing at his ring finger with like 3 minutes left in the 4th quarter after another touchdown, like, give me my ring. And like when so many other guys do that, or they act like that, or they feel like they're entitled to that, that doesn't come across great. But with him, it's like, dude, fucking A, like, holy shit.
Yeah.
It's
because everybody's always loved like the underdog story, and he doesn't like a fucking entitled little dick. And like people hate players like that, like fucking Johnny Manziel. People he was kind of fun to like when you were a little bit younger, but like as he got older, you realized he was just some fucking, rich little shit from Texas that like came in and like balled and felt like he could do whatever the fuck he wanted. Joe Burrow doesn't have any of that to him. We're humble, I guess.
100%.
That's what you have to like about him.
100%. And he's made the most of all these opportunities, right, in the NFL. Like he goes out to the Bengals, gets drafted to the fucking Bengals. And we've talked about this before, but like that is where, Bengals or the Browns or the fucking Jets or like could easily have just been like a mediocre quarterback for 4 years, gone somewhere else, been the starter for 2 more years, then been a career backup. But it's like he's saying to everybody, just like, fuck that, dude. Like, we're going to fucking win, and we're going to win now. And when we have the opportunity to win, we're not just going to show up. And like I said it about them when they played the Chiefs and they were playing them tough. I said it to my buddy at the bar. I was like, hey, man, you know what? Win or lose, good for the Bengals being in this situation to begin with, right? That's how I looked at it. Good for them. Like, either way, man, what a huge step in the career of the franchise. And he's like, fuck you, Ryan, and fuck everybody else. We're not here to fucking show up and get a fucking participation trophy. It's time to win now. Even if we don't have the team. It's fucking crazy.
We're all in on Joey B. I think like fucking at this point the whole country is, but like it's exciting to see like what he's doing now. Like, just
because it doesn't feel like
I feel like and like you gotta remember, like, he was getting his knee all torn up, last year.
Exactly.
Got all torn up. He had to get full surgery and was out the whole year. So like I think that like everyone was kind of sleeping on him again coming back. Usually after an injury, all that recency bias goes away. Like, oh, you were so sick out of LSU. So I mean, I fucking love it.
Yeah. So, no, I love it too. I literally love it. So
I saw an interview. Actually, I had one last thing about it. Was I saw an interview with him on ESPN the other day. That's what he was saying. He's like, like the best part about all the success that I've had here is that I know now that I have a little bit of job security that I've never had in my life. He goes, I feel like I can go out there and practice and know that I can actually make a mistake without having to look over my shoulder and think that somebody else is going to come right back in. So I thought that was cool too, because it's really his whole career, basically, he was fucking one shitty practice or one dickhead coach away from, having somebody else get that opportunity. And
100%.
So he's always seized it. So
100%. Yeah. So, I mean, that's what, that's what we have to say about that. I just wanted to touch on that mic'd up thing. Cause man, I will always remember that. And when I saw that, man, I was of course rooting for him, but when he comes to the huddle and he goes, "Hey, when we score here, boys, we're going for 2. And Jamar Chase is like, "Ooh, I like that." And then guess what? Now Jamar Chase is fired up and he wants to go out and make a play for the guy, or the rest of the guys want to make a play. And the Joe Mixon the whole time too, the whole game, Joe Mixon was either on the sideline or in the huddle. They came in the huddle in overtime after they got the turnover. It was right when the play happened. Joe Mixon the whole game, high five him before the game and whatever. He goes, I gotta just stay behind my guys and do whatever. And then he's like, we gotta believe. Throughout the game, we gotta believe. And then the Chiefs get the ball back. They go down the field. They get in the red zone. He's like, I gotta believe, boys, gotta believe. They hold him to the field goal. He's like, gotta believe. And then it's kind of quiet on the sideline because the Chiefs win the coin toss. And then he throws the pick, and Joe Mixon throws a helmet on, and as he's running down the field, he goes like, gotta believe, boys, you gotta believe. That's it. And that's where it's like, this shit's not rigged, man. These guys are just playing fucking football, and they're playing hard. But
I think you looked at the officials. You looked at the officials if you want to rig a game.
Yeah, 100%. So we'll keep going here. We'll talk about a lot of different other things. I mean, it's easy to break down a guy like Burrow. It's easy to break down a team that's likable. It's obviously also easy to look past a team like the Rams. I don't think anybody's looking past them. But what I will say is the Rams are expected to win this game. I think everybody knows that. And I think with a team like the Rams, when you're loaded up, you go all in for a Super Bowl, you have a guy like Stafford, it's hard to root against those guys too. And I think it's really important that this Super Bowl be, more than anything, just appreciated by everybody watching, everybody taking it in, because it's important to understand that, and I said this before, and it was a TikTok that a lot of people saw, this is definitely the most likable Super Bowl matchup. And so when we go into this next segment about our official picks, it's not that we're rooting one side or the other, right? I mean, it's important to note, we take the Bengals. It's we want the Bengals to win, but it's if the Rams win, man, it's okay. It's not like Burrow's going to be fine. Everyone will be fine. It's just and that's what probably is going to happen, right? The Rams will probably find a way. It's at LA, in their home stadium. Who knows what's going to happen, but yeah, it's exciting. All right, so now's the time, Jared, to dive into our official picks for the game, for the Super Bowl, for the granddaddy of them all, for the whole enchilada, right? Whatever you want to call it, the big game. We're going to make our official picks with the lines that they have out now. Now, keep in mind, we're recording this on February 7th, Monday, so these could change very easily, very quickly. Within hours of the game, the Rams could just get hammered on the spread, and this 4 could go up to fucking 6 or 6.5 or 7. But right now, well, what I see, and I'm sure Jared's seeing the same thing for the game lines, is the Rams are favored by 4. So Rams are listed at -4, which would mean the Bengals are listed at +4, 4-point underdogs. The total for the game is at 48.5. And as far as money line, I'm saying the Rams listed at -200 and the Bengals at +170. So with that being said, Jared, your official picks for the game on February 7th are what?
Do you want to know my official picks on those specific lines or how I'm going to bet it?
Both.
Okay. I'm taking Rams money line. I told you I fucking hate that spread. I think we're going over 48.5.
Okay.
Even though we said the Rams defense is good, I think that they're going to score, and I think the Bengals are going to find a way to score. So I'm going to take Rams money line over 48.5, but that's just off of what you're saying right now. The way I'm playing this Super Bowl is because I believe the Bengals can keep this game close, but I don't know if it's going to be a touchdown or fucking 10 points or what it is, but they're not going to get blown out because they don't have any quitting them. But I do think the Rams are going to win the game. I think it's you got to remember, Stafford hasn't won a Super Bowl before either. He's going to be fired up. As much as we have all this hype about Joe, Stafford's a fucking pretty good quarterback too. He can be somewhat careless with the ball, but he's going to be good. So the way I'm playing this for plus 681 odds, I'm middling an over under. I'm taking this is a same game parlay. You can bet this right now on FanDuel or whatever the fuck you're on.
Yeah.
I'm getting at plus 681 because I don't want to just put like $100 on a spread and lose. I don't have to risk that much if I fucking really believe in. If I really believe in it, I'm just going to risk 25 on what I think
the same payout
specifically going to happen, right? So I can put $25 on this and win 160, 170 bucks, and it's in-game parlay over 45.5 points. So I saw alt lined.
So you bought 3 points. You bought 3 points.
I bought 3 points. Also took an under of 57.5. So I think it's going to be somewhere in there, right?
Okay.
I took a Rams money line and Cincinnati Bengals plus 10.5, and that comes out to plus 681 odds. So basically, all I'm saying is I want this game to be fucking 23 to 24.
So say it again. So
with the Rams to winning.
So do the whole parlay.
So you have. Okay, so the whole thing. So we'll start with the lines.
Yep.
So I got money line for the Rams.
Yep.
Right.
Minus 200.
So I think they win the game. Yeah. Minus 198 or whatever the fuck it was.
Yeah.
And then I got Cincinnati Bengals plus 10.5, so that they can lose by a touchdown and a field goal.
So Rams are going to win, but by less than 10. 10 by 10 or less.
By 10 or less, exactly. And then I'm going over. I bought 3 points on the over, so 45.5, and then I have the under of 57.5. So the points are going to land somewhere over 45.5, but they're not going to go over 57.5. So that means that this game can't. It could be fucking 30 to 27 with the Rams winner, and I win.
Yep.
And that very well could happen.
Sounds like.
I don't think this game is going to get into the 30s because it's just Super Bowl is just like I remember last year it was a really high one, and I'm taking basically a number off of what happened last year and saying, okay, it's not going to go above that. So. So that comes out at plus 681. So like, and that's how I like to play shit, because I would rather risk a little bit less because I'm uncertain about the outcome anyway. This is what I think is going to happen. I'm going to take like what my gut feeling is like, okay, this game's going to be in here somewhere, and I'm going to make more money off of less risk rather than just hammering $100 on the fucking Rams and the Bengals come out and win.
Yep.
And that's $100 that you put on the Rams to win fucking $50 on money line.
Yep.
So I don't want to bet that way.
Or you put 100 on the Rams spread, like you said, of -4, and it's 30 to 27, like you just said, and then they don't cover, but they won the game. So it's like it's hard to make a pick. It's really hard to make a pick.
Yeah, or Bengals fucking keep the game real close, and the Rams and you believe in their spread, they kick a field goal, and I guess they would still cover 4, right?
Yeah,
that's basically the only way that 4 points covers. Yeah, I don't know what other scoring scenarios could happen, but what are you thinking, Ryan?
So first of all, before I even give my official pick, I would say if you are a sports gambler, you're in an area, whether you mean legal or not, there's a lot of offers everywhere, but try to find the new offers, or if you're not betting, the sign-up offers. A lot of them, most of them actually aren't sign-up offers. They're just like boosters that they want people to take action on. The first one that's like popping out to me, I'm seeing on DraftKings specifically, and I'm sure if DraftKings offers it, it'll be offered either similarly or at the same and in the other books. But this one's Cooper Kupp to score a touchdown, so not first or anything like that. Cooper Kupp to score at anytime touchdown is listed at -190. That's what he's listed at. But this is a boosted Cooper Kupp to score a touchdown anytime at +100. I think that if anything is as close to a lock in this game, it's that. I mean, like Cooper Kupp, as he's proven time and time again, is just a touchdown fucking machine. So he's going to get targeted.
Get crazy targets too.
Targeted crazy. If he doesn't break off a big one, he's going to get a target in the red zone. probably in a goal line situation, and he's probably going to score. I'm not saying you will for sure, and I'm not saying that's going to hit 100%, but that's a great payout. That's a lot better than minus 190. So instead of putting $10 on it to win 5, you put $10 on it to win 10. So I think that's a good value pick right there. Is Cooper Kupp to score a touchdown, boosted to plus 100, and finding similar props or boosts or things like that are going to be critical for anybody who wants to enjoy the game and get better payouts, better odds, whatever you want to say. If I'm going as a same game parlay and I'm going to put in 3 or 4 separate items, I'm going to go Bengals plus 4.5, because when you do the same game parlay, it usually bumps it up a half point or so, because the normal spread is plus 4 for the Bengals, but the same game parlay bumps it up to plus 4.5 when you select that option. I'm taking Bengals plus 4.5, and whether it's bumped up or not, you can take the plus 4.5. And now that I'm starting to think about it, and I'm looking at game lines, I would take Bengals more so, probably 5.5, just to be safe and get the extra point. So you take Bengals in the same game parlay at plus 5.5. I take over 48.5, because I do think there's going to be a ton of points in this game. I do. And then, like you were doing, I do the Rams money line. And those 3 right there, Bengals plus 5.5, over 48.5.
Why not bump it? Why not bump it up to 6.5 though? Just thinking about like the increments of scoring. You could,
but I'm saying my parlay right now is Bengals plus 5.5, over 48.5, and Rams money line, and that pays out at plus 650. If you dump the Bengals 5.5 and you go to game lines and you did, what'd you say, 6.5? That drops it down from plus 650 to plus 550. It's not like that huge of a drop, but I think a win by 4 is also very, very likely, like a 31-27, right? Something like that. Or 21-17. Yeah. I mean, but like 31-27 would be ideal, because that'd be over 48.5. It just, I think 4 points is a weird number. I think if you're going to go,
it's a touchdown and a field goal, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think if you go,
there's ways that could happen
for sure. But I think if you go up to 7.5, that makes, if you go up to 7.5, so if you do a same game parlay, Rams money line over 48.5, Bengals plus 7.5, it's down to plus 450. That's probably like your safest bet, maybe, because it's Bengals 7.5. Like losing by 7 is just like a very common outcome. But I just would get personally a little more risky and do Bengals plus 5.5, Rams money line over 48.5. And that means the Bengals lose by 3, but it's like we said, it's 31-28 or 31-27, 31-26. That would be a plus 650 payout. And I think that's where I would go. But if I'm going straight bets, one pick, per section, whether it's the total or the spread, if I had to take a spread, if I absolutely had to, like life on the line, gun to my head, I'm probably taking the Rams -4. That's if I had to pick one spread. You don't have to do it. But my pick for the spread is the Rams to cover 4 points. That's my official pick on the actual spread of the game. For the total, my pick is under 48.5. But when you parlay those 3 together, like you said before, you don't have to put as much to win as much. So if it goes over, you get, I would get more paid out on the same game parlay. I wouldn't even touch the money line, but if I did, and again, this is gun to my head, I know it's like counterintuitive. These are like not all same time. Like this is the only bet I'm putting on the game. If I'm only putting one bet on any of these 3, I would take Rams -4 if I had to pick a spread. And that was the only bet I could choose. If I had to pick just money line, and that was the only bet I could take, I'm taking Bengals money line, because there's obviously value there. Plus 170, they could very easily win the game. And if I had to take just over or under 48.5, and that's my only bet for the game, and I had $100, that's all I could bet, I would take under 48.5. And I know that's like the opposite of my parlay.
You just bet, you bet everything.
No, but I'm saying,
are you trying to hedge?
I'm saying on those picks,
are you trying to hedge in case your parlay doesn't hit?
I'm saying on those picks, that's like somebody came to me and said, here's $100 and you can only pick the spread. You can only pick it. You have no other bets on any other part of the game. I would pick Rams -4. Or they came to me and said, you think
if they win, they're going to cover.
Right. And I think if somebody said $100 and you can only bet on the money line, that's the only bet you can make, where would you put it? I'd put it on Bengals money line because there's more value there. And if the Bengals win the game, you get, like you said, $100 to win 50 as opposed to 100 to win 170. That's a lot better. So, and then again, $100, this is the only bet I make on the game. I go under 48.5 because these are all like the safest, I guess, best value, whatever you'd like to say. But the more fun stuff to do is the stuff I mentioned before, where you can do a same game parlay. It's just tough because
especially if you're not really that big into betting. Too,
exactly.
And you want to say you have $50 or whatever. You're like, fuck it. I don't normally bet, but it's the Super Bowl. Everyone's doing it. It's becoming legal. I feel more comfortable that now it's legal in my state.
Right.
And you're like, but I'm trying to make some money, but I'm not trying to put down more than $50. And that's when I think that like you're gonna have the most fucking bang for your buck and value, or not. I guess not necessarily value, but you're gonna have the most entertainment betting on like some same game parlays. If you think the Rams are gonna win it and you have $50 to wager, I guess if winning $24 feels really cool to you, then like by all means do it.
Sure.
I'm just saying if you got $50 and you're like wanting to see a bigger payout,
do the spread.
Fuck around with the same game parlay.
Yeah.
Because you can mix player props with spreads if you want.
For sure.
And like that way you have a whole kind of group of things that you can watch during the game that you're rooting for. Or if you want less risk, take $10 and do something like Ryan said. He liked the Cooper touchdown or the Cooper touchdown.
Yeah, the Cooper Cup touchdown.
Yeah, it's the Cooper touchdown. No, so take $10 on that. Take $10 on the spread. Take $10 on the over under. And then they kind of diversify what your bets are going to be for the day. That way, it's like maybe you hit 3 of 5. You don't really lose anything because you don't have a higher risk tolerance, or maybe you're new to it.
Right.
Or I don't know. It's just like I think that's a fun way to play it if you only have $50.
Yeah.
It's like maybe even spend 25 of it parlaying it, and then put 25 on just one of the things like the money line.
Yeah.
It's another way to just kind of hedge. That way, like someone gets hurt, like CJ Uzomah or something, comes out of the game because his knee's sore, and you had money on that. You don't just get fucked on everything.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a fun way to play it.
Yeah. No, those are my picks for like one pick, one spot. But if I'm going to do the same game parlay like Jared mentioned and diversify, it's hard for this game for me because it's like, of course you want to bet on it. But I think if you're the type of person that's like you going into this game and you're like, I'm going to take same game parlay under 48 and Cooper Kupp under 100 yards receiving, and guys, like you just don't. It's hard for me because it's like you can include some of that stuff, but it's so intriguing and so much more fun. If I go in right now on DraftKings and I do same game parlay, I do over 48.5. I do Cooper Kupp anytime touchdown, Jamar Chase anytime touchdown. I go passing props. Joe Burrow over 279 passing, Matt Stafford over 279 passing. Like, that's more fun because that's just building a monster parlay and you can root for pretty much all the action, right? I mean, it's essentially the over, right? Yeah. You bet the over, you're rooting for action, but those are more fun to do. So like Jared said, I mean, it's fun to get involved, but if you're new or whatever and you're trying to take a safe bet, that was my point, is like, if I am like, somebody's like, dude, this is your, like, you have to pick one and you can only do the spread, I would just take the Rams +4. -4. I would take the Rams. And if I had to pick one total, I would go
way
under.
More value that money, because that money line -198 is kind of a dog shit money line. I don't like really betting on much stuff like that unless it is parlayed, because that's the only way that you're going to add value to it.
Correct.
But 198, if you got fucking $10 to bet and you bet on something that's -200, you're gonna profit $5, which is like cool if you want to buy a Coca-Cola from McDonald's.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's still fun. It's still fun either way. I'm just saying that there's not much value in that.
Right.
So,
no, 100%.
I'm there too.
Yeah. So, I mean, either way, of course, we're hoping for a great game. And, we may do another episode later on this week with like maybe not like our picks, but more so like maybe non-gambling related. We do like predictions for the game about how the stats unfold, stuff like that. But I would say, as far as player props go, it's hard to really definitively pick one side or the other. If you go in and you look at receiving props for Cooper Kupp, over under 106 receiving yards, like that's fun to bet on, but there's not a ton of value in those. Like right now, Cooper Kupp on DraftKings, over under 106.5 receiving yards. Those are both paying out at -120. So it's like,
really, that's some juice.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, they're just like, yeah, like those are fun, but it's like, that sucks, So picking the game lines is different, and those might change throughout the day, like by the minute. So I don't know. Like I'm seeing Samaje Perine over 8.5 receiving yards, -125. Like, do you want to do that? And do you want to like?
You want to know what one I loved? Joe Burrow over 12.5 rushing yards.
That to me seems like maybe the lock of the game. Maybe the lock of the game.
One Joe Burrow scramble. He did it last week, like he probably ran for like, how many rushing yards did he have last week?
Yeah, like 30.
It's just one like drop back.
Well, he's going to be under pressure. He's going to be under pressure. Yeah. So he's going to scramble.
They're not going to count sacks against you.
Yeah.
Always remember that. Like, so they don't, because he's trying to pass the ball, so they don't count against his rushing yards. But yeah, it's one. Von Miller kind of breaks the edge, and one of the linebackers has to drop back in coverage, and he steps up and he just scrambles for 13 yards.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you win. Yeah.
So I love Joe Burrow's rushing yards.
Me too.
That's one of my favorite ones.
I do.
And Joe Burrow, and I actually loved OBJ. OBJ over 63.5 is a good one.
Yeah, it is a good one because he's going to get targeted a lot too. They make sure to include him in the game plan. So, yeah, I mean, we're excited.
He's been looking more and more confident too.
Maybe we'll do that in the next episode. We'll do all those player props that we just talked about because there's some other ones I'm sure that we can find or just get some value on, like Aaron Donald getting a sack or Von Miller getting a sack. Matt Stafford to throw a pick. That stuff, like, what's going to happen. You know what I mean? Exactly. But it's like, fuck, maybe he doesn't. So yeah, that's going to do it for our picks for the Super Bowl as far as the game lines go. And like I said, we'll maybe back later in the week to do player props to wrap that up and get the finishing touch, and then just fucking enjoy the game because it's going to be a good game. That's what we're all hoping for. It's just like a really good, fun, entertaining game between two teams that definitely deserve to be there. It should be a good time. Should be a really good time. So the last subject we wanted to touch on here, and again, this is more tailored towards those of you who have seen it, but there's a video going around. I guess it initially gained popularity from a TikTok account. I don't know, Raylan90. I don't know I don't know the full context of the situation, but the viral video breakdown of the week, version 2, comes to us from a viral video that's been circulating the web in the last day or so. And Jared, feel free to chime in at any point and maybe correct me, or maybe you saw something that I didn't, but it looks like it's not in America. It's in a country that probably takes their baseball a little bit more, their amateur baseball a little bit more seriously, because these guys look like they're playing in some sort of adult league or, men's Sunday league, but they got full unis on. They're playing, looks like they care enough, because the video doesn't give you much context as to what led up to this moment, but the video opens with what is definitely a player, a big guy, like has to be 6'2", 6'3", and he's squared up in the middle of the diamond with an umpire, like fists clenched, shoulders cocked, squared up with an umpire. And they start throwing jabs like right when the video starts. And so the initial question is like, what what happened here? Like, is this guy a manager? Is he a coach? Is he one of the players? And the thing that strikes me is that they do throw a couple punches to start off the video, and then the second baseman is in the background just like standing there with his hands on his hips, like just watching this happen. And like, I don't know, I mean, he might be a little bit smaller. He may not feel like it's his place to step in and stop this, but the guys that end up breaking it up are wearing the other team's jerseys, and it's like a coach or maybe another player that step in and break it up. But there's so much to unpack in this video, right? Because again, the initial question is, like, what happened? Like, what call could he have gotten so wrong, right? You know that guys get fired up. You know that he may have made a horrible call. He wasn't paying attention. I don't know what it could have happened. But the point is I mean, very rarely do you see a guy get so upset to the point where he's ready to actually fight the umpire. And then on the flip side, the umpire is ready to fight back. Like, of course, in the major leagues, like if a guy charges the umpire and like bumps him, the umpire's not going to start swinging at him. But it's like, if you're the umpire here, like, isn't your ultimate job is to like de-escalate the situation? I mean, like, you know, and if the player comes out and starts calling him names or saying something horrible, like I can understand the frustration, but your job is not to square up and start throwing punches back at the guy. I mean, unless it's self-defense and the guy came out and just started throwing haymakers. But it's like, it looked like they were both fully engaged. It was posted on multiple things. Though I saw it on John Boy. I saw it on John Boy Media.
It was on John Boy.
Yeah.
That's what I'm sitting here. I can't even find it on like just on Google right now, which is crazy.
Yeah, and some of the comments, by the way, were just hilarious. This guy, you know, the umpire and the guy fighting, this comment says, live look at the negotiations between Major League Baseball and the Players Association. Like, that's funny. This other guy says,
I love comments.
This guy goes, this is actual footage of Angel Hernandez in the minor leagues before he got called up. Like, that's fucking funny, dude. That is so funny. But the umpire, I don't really know, like, it's hard to say that the umpire's out of line here because, of course, the player's out of line, right? I mean, he's the guy coming out and charging at him. But if you're the umpire, like, as much as you don't want to be maybe perceived as, like, soft or, like, running away from conflict, like, dude, you can't fight a player. Like, you just can't do it. Like,
if Kenny Powers isn't in that league, then
yeah, seriously,
he's got to be in that league. That's exactly what it seems like. It seems like when Kenny Powers and Eastbound Down goes down into like Mexico, and there's just so much bullshit that's not baseball happening inside the games.
Yeah, no, I mean, but I think this video, it's obviously a very rare thing to see, but it begs the question, Jared, and something that I saw in the comments. This is what we can wrap up here on. If you had to pick one guy in the big leagues right now that would be most inclined to be that upset about a call and to come out and start throwing fists with an umpire, like just starting a full fist fight with an umpire, one player in the big leagues, it's hard to pick one because you don't think many of them would, right? But there are some guys that are hot-headed, some guys that get fired up.
Oh man, that's a good one guy in the MLB.
Like the first guy that I think of is maybe like
Amir Garrett.
Amir Garrett is a really good one.
Amir Garrett on like a ball 4 call that was like real close to lose a game.
Yeah,
fucking scrapped the umpire because last time he did anything, he ran into the other team's dugout. So I think he automatically gets put as the favorite for me.
Yeah, that's a good pick. I think Amir Garrett's a good pick. Couple that come first to mind for me, probably like Bryce Harper, just because he's had so many fiery interactions with umpires.
Yeah, he's a hothead.
Yeah. I think
he does hate umpires too. That's a good one.
I think another guy would be like an Aroldis Chapman, mostly because he's obviously such an imposing figure, but like an umpire could be mouthing off to him or like blow a call or something. And like Chapman's gotten in some fights, and it's like, if anybody's going to be a guy that's actually like fully confident that he could beat the shit out of an umpire, it's got to be Aroldis Chapman. For those of you who haven't seen how that guy's fucking built, he's 6'5", 250 pounds, and he has like 2% body fat.
He looks like a fucking Dragon Ball Z character.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, just like something that you're like, how does someone?
And he's also had some. It
makes sense why you throw 100.
And he's also had some issues off the field. I'm just saying he's had some anger issues. So I'm just saying, big game, big play. Umpire blows it. Ball forward, end the game. Like, strike 3, ball 4, calls it a ball. Should have been a strike. Chases him off the field, like chirping at him, and the guy tells him like he's soft or he needs to. And Chapman would easily throw a fucking left hook. I mean, easily.
It's fucking square.
Just catch the umpire. Yeah. And don't get me wrong,
old ass umpires.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. Is like these umpires. It's not like they don't deserve it half the time, man. Holy shit, those guys are fucking assholes. Like, they are so powerful. And thank God, by the way, Joe West officially announced his retirement from the major leagues. I mean, holy shit, it's about fucking time that guy, and about 24 others, honestly, need to retire. I mean, guys that are just so bad. But yeah, no, that was sort of our viral video breakdown of the week. Is just your classic, circumstance of a player and an umpire fighting. I mean, I think that's fucking. Obviously, you'd never see it in actual professional leagues because that guy would be like that guy in Major League Baseball. Like, that guy's literally banned for life. Like, he's never playing again. But
it was so funny though. To go
but it's so funny because it's like the thing is with that league and that type of situation is like that's probably happened before because the umpire was inclined enough to just start fighting back.
Those Latin America. It looks like a Latin American league.
Yeah, could be anywhere.
It probably is. But those ones are fucking hilarious. But those umpires down there don't give a shit. Like, there was that video not too long ago about that guy that was just wasted that had to get pulled. Did you see that one?
Mm-hmm.
Umpire was just clearly just
stumbling
down the third base, just stumbling back and forth.
They're like,
they come up to him, and you can't hear what they say, obviously, but you can just tell. Like, they're like, "You drunk?" You're like, "No," stumbling around.
Yeah, no, but that just goes to show. I mean, fuck, maybe like one team per year gets allocated to, like, the guy gets exempt from a lifetime suspension. Like, one game, one play per year, the guy is allowed to do it. Like the manager's like, all right, go do it. And he just runs out and like just fucking linebackers the home plate umpire, like just lays him out. Like,
I wouldn't hate it.
I would fuck. I love watching I mean, those highlights would go fucking viral. Are you kidding me? That shit would be awesome. But anyways, that will officially wrap up episode 6. We covered a lot of different topics here. Props, more Super Bowl stuff. Joe Burrow again, man, we just can't get enough of that guy. And for those of you who tuned in, we appreciate it. We'll be back later this week and then back after the Super Bowl. And hopefully at that point, we'll have some decent news to give you guys for baseball. We'll try to start getting more tuned towards baseball on the podcast. Maybe start to do some breakdowns on individual teams. I think that'd be a good segment for our listeners. Is every episode we do, we break down maybe 2 teams or 3 teams, talk about their status, break down where we see them finishing, things like that. But in the meantime, we got a big game on Sunday. We gave you our picks, maybe some player props later in the week. But the point is, you guys are all listening. For those of you who are, because you are phenomenal fans, tuned into the Phenomenal Fan Podcast with Jared and Ryan, and we appreciate you guys supporting. We'll catch you guys on the next episode. And Jared, just make sure everybody knows, have to fade the under no matter what. No matter what.
Gotta fade them.
Every time.
You hate yourself if you don't.
Exactly.
Anytime that you bet under, it won't hit.
100%. Right. Unless Jared bet on it, then yeah, that makes sense. But
yeah, of course.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys later.